Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday. Happy Saturday. How's everybody doing this morning?
Woohoo, doing great.
All right. There's one person unmuted for that. I always forget to cue everybody up for that. So it is Saturday morning. It is Walk and Talk, and we've got a loaded docket here. I'm going to cover a segment, circling back on a segment that I've covered before on mitochondria. And I'm going to go through kind of the correlation between insulin resistance and mitochondria, the health of the mitochondria. And I'm going to go through why it's important to pay attention to your mitochondria. In fact, I'm going to go through a list of health ramifications of unhealthy mitochondria. And I've got good news and bad news. The bad news is you're not going to like the list. It's some pretty heavy hitting stuff. The good news is that it's only 9 things. It's not 10. So if it was 10, that would be horrible, but it's good news. There's only 9 on there. So I'm going to cover that segment. Then we're going to be kicking off here shortly with Kathy on a segment on gratefulness. We've got Eileen and Bruce that are going to be on prepping for HealthPointe, how to prepare for travel. And I know we've got Carol that's going to be on some conversation regarding supplements and other sources of supplements. So let's get started on the docket and let's swing on over to Kathy. Good morning, Kathy. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you doing? I hope
great.
everybody is doing well. So I'm going to start first of all with my update. Today is 2 years, 123 days consecutively of remaining to do my 10,000 steps a day.
Wow, that is awesome. 2 years, you said 120 days?
123.
123.
Give me credit for those 3 days.
I give you credit for every day. That's fantastic. Excellent.
So, and it kind of will help me just kind of roll right in with what I wanted to share briefly. Excuse me, I wanted to share briefly. This past weekend, those of us who are involved in the business were offered the opportunity to attend a Zoom, well, not a Zoom, but like a live stream training. And there was one gentleman, Keith Abraham, who talked about goal setting. And this was definitely something that was very pertinent to me because I've had a lot of things go down the past 3 months in my life, and it's been very crazy. And not going to go into it, but things are getting back to normal. But the goals kind of got put on the back burner. So it was a really perfect time to kind of wake me up and say, okay, things are getting back to normal. You need to get back to setting your goals. And he talked about there's 8 amplified attitudes that we need to have so that you can successfully reach a goal. And one that he spoke about all 8, I'm not going to go into them, but one that he spoke about that really hit me and reminded me of stuff I was doing that I haven't been doing that I wanted to start doing was gratefulness. And, you have to be grateful if you share an opportunity with somebody and they decide not to do it. But you still have to be grateful because you reached out and you tried to help that person. And so if they decided, that's their thing. But you should still be grateful because you had the opportunity to be able to do that. So that was kind of a nice little caveat. But in thinking about in HealthPointe terms, so gratefulness, super, super grateful that over 5 years ago, I was diagnosed pre-diabetic, was 58 pounds heavier than I am today. And I've kept it all off for 5 years with this amazing HealthPointe program. Super grateful to my immediate direct coach at the time, Chris Dassow, who has lost over 100 pounds and kept it off for, I don't know, over 10 years now, something like that. And of course, our very own Carol for being there on the sidelines for anything that we needed. But then just grateful to myself for being willing to say, yeah, I wanted to make a change. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to take care of myself. I wanted to look good in those green scout pants, as we've talked about before. That was the underlying goal, but really it was, I didn't want to be on insulin. My mom's on insulin. I didn't want to be on insulin. So, and she's seen me for 5 years. She's still on insulin. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So, that's fine. But I'm grateful that I'm healthy and that I've been able to help take care of my family members who have not been so healthy in the past year or so. So, and in that, I used to have a gratefulness journal that every morning I would write down 5 things that I was grateful for, and one person that I was going to help lift up for the day. And then at night, circle back and just kind of see like how the day went. And I used to do that all the time for like 2 years. And then life got in the way and I just let it go. And even though it was a habit, thanks to Atomic Habits, I let it go. And I thought about it when he was talking in his talk about the gratefulness. And I thought, you know what? I used to feel like really good when I'd wake up every morning and I would do that. And I'm like, I'm going to dig that thing. And I was actually watching this last night. And so I was like, all right, starting Monday morning, I'm going to start fresh. I'm going to get out the gratefulness journal and, go back to this exercise. And so for all of you that have just started HealthPointe, okay, so if you had a great day, that's something to be grateful for. Okay. If your first week you lost 2 pounds, okay, maybe you're like, oh, I only lost 2 pounds, but you know what? It's 2 pounds you wouldn't have lost if you hadn't started HealthPointe. So you need to kind of remember that and don't be so hard on yourself. Okay, well, oh my God, she's done 10,000 steps for 2 years. Okay. Yeah. It took me a while to do that. I didn't do it when I was in the weight loss program. I did maybe 7,000 pretty much every day. Once in a while I got to 10,000, but if you start and you're doing 3,000 steps and then the next day you do 3,500, I bet 2 weeks ago you maybe were doing 500. So take a minute, be grateful to your coach, be grateful to yourself for being willing to take that step to make positive changes in your life. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. Like I said, it literally just kind of popped in my head as you said, hey, do you have anything you want to talk about? Because originally I was like, yeah, I really don't have anything. And then, I don't know, it just popped in my head from last night. So that's what I have.
I love it. Well, first and probably foremost, we are grateful for you, Kathy. So let me just throw that out there. And I'm so many things I'd like to ask about and kind of comment on, and everybody that has any questions or comments, obviously unmute and chime in. When you do your gratefulness, like you said, you were doing it before. I like how you say, how it changes how you woke up, how you felt when you woke up. Is this something that when you do the gratefulness, are you like writing it down? Are you are you not writing it down and thinking about it? How do you kind of go about that?
No, actually, it was a physical journal. And the ironic thing is our assistant superintendent gave it to us as a Christmas gift a couple years ago as a way to help people just kind of, start your day. And so I used to have it. I used to keep it in my bag. So I would fill it out usually because I usually arrive at work like 15 to 20 minutes before is my start time. So in that 15 to 20 minutes, I go through and read my affirmations. And then I would sit down and pull out the journal and quickly jot down, my 5 things and who I was going to lift up. And then you're done, and then, start my work day, so to speak, throw the journal back in my work bag. So it would come home. And then before going to bed, also, that's when I would pull out my calendar and schedule what I'm going to do the next day. Another thing I haven't been doing. Okay. So, pull that out, review the day, jot down some notes. Cause I think it says, let me get it. Cause it is like an actual journal book, but it has like prompts. And we've talked about it before because Billy was the one who first had really went into the gratefulness a while ago, remember?
Right.
And then we kind of talked about
that.
some of them.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's called the 3-minute morning and evening.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, it's right here. It's been laying on my desk. Haven't done anything with it in a long time, but
well, and that's another important point too. Just let me comment on that for everybody that's considering HealthPointe, is in HealthPointe, and we say it's a very forgiving program in many respects. And although gratefulness isn't necessarily one of the bullet points in the HealthPointe strategy. What you're pointing out here, Kathy, is whether it's, how you doing with your water every day, how you doing with your supplementation every day, how you doing with your walking, how you doing with your macronutrients, your eating and so forth like that. Obviously, in a perfect world, in a perfect day, you do it perfectly. But the reality is, in the life, here was something that was very beneficial to you in terms of this gratefulness journal. You had benefits from it, and yet, you, for a window of time, became less than perfect with it. You were reminded of it. And that's also kind of an important thing, why it's important for us to stay tuned into, if there's a conference. In this case, it was a Saturday afternoon webinar that we were able to attend. And now it's been downloaded into the app. We can review it. I think that's what you're saying. You can review it. Why it's important to refresh and continue learning, because in this case, it reminded you, oh, I need to get back on my gratefulness habit. So,
yeah. So
congratulations.
Thank you. It says, my life is great because, and there's 3. I thought it was 5, but there's 3. And then it says, I will move closer to my goals today by 3 things. Today, I will brighten somebody's day by blank. And then at the evening, you're end of your day, you say, today was great because of 3 reasons. Mm-hmm. So you circle back at the end of the day and say, why was today great? Mm-hmm. And, and I really like the today I will brighten somebody's day. Because that really helped me remember to reach out to one person a day,
Mm-hmm.
So
you're reaching out to kind of, uplift them, it could be mm-hmm. a positive comment or something like that. It's so interesting, so we kind of treat this like building a muscle, right? Is that kind of how you kind of perceive it? Is that you're building your gratefulness muscle?
Yeah.
And like any muscle, it can atrophy, it can get weak, or if you put effort into it, it can strengthen and get strong. Talk a little bit more about, if you don't mind, talking about this, how you recall you feeling different. Let's just talk about mental health, how you felt different emotionally, when you woke up, when that gratefulness muscle was stronger.
Yeah, I think I just, okay, so you guys know I am overall a positive person, but I think I felt better every day. I can't really categorize it per se, but, in listening to Keith last night, I was just yeah, I really do have a lot to be grateful for over the past 6 months for sure. And, and I usually do, go to bed and say a prayer of Thanksgiving, but to take a few minutes and jot down, and like I said, I hadn't looked at it. This is now the first time I looked at it since I put it away. So, to remind myself, why is my life great? And then the 3 things I was going to do to move closer to my goals every day, that got me just to be more focused on that day, on those activities that I wanted to approach a little bit more than just writing them on a sticky note at my desk to work on, mm-hmm. And because most of these were more personal for me for my health coaching business, or just for me personally, mm-hmm. So it kind of helped me get a little bit stronger focus toward my goals. And overall, I believe I was achieving more of my goals when I was doing this, because it was top of mind every day. And I had this little game plan, if you will, a daily game plan of what I was going to do, you know? So it just kind of provided more focus. So for somebody, if you take it in a HealthPointe, direction, you could be okay, my life is great today because yesterday I did 4,000 steps and I drank 62 ounces of water. What I'm going to do to move my goals closer today. Today, I'm going to do 4,200 steps and I'm going to drink 65 ounces of water, just action steps that you can help to write it down. Because they always say by writing it down, it makes a difference. And I'm so much more believing that, because I haven't been writing stuff down and things haven't been happening. But back when I was writing things down, you know what? Things were happening. So,
yeah,
you know,
I love that, because it's, and I'm curious if anybody else does, I don't want to over talk on my end on this. If anybody else has any comments or questions for Kathy, I think this is such a important topic. And, you know, it's one of those things that's easy to do, but easy not to do. I was just sharing, I think it was with you, Carol, actually, one of the things that I have that I guess is be a version of this, and I'll share it just because, you know, it might be a helpful tool for people. And that is that one of the things that I do in terms of like goals is I create a Google album. That's very easy for me to do, create a Google photo album. And then if I'm thinking, oh, you know, like to travel to here, and, you know, you can Google that and take a picture or whatever. And then you save that screenshot in that album, call it 100 Dreams, right? So that gets a very full album. But some time ago, and I think I was sharing this with you, Carol, I decided to create, excuse me, another album called Dreams Realized, right? Because have you ever heard of, you know, there's countless stories of people that are just pursue. You know, they make their first million and then they're not happy. They need to make 10 million. Then they get 10 million. They're not happy. They make 100 million. Then they make $1 billion. And they end up dying miserable. And everybody looks at them and goes, wow, you know, why, how could they be so miserable? They've got everything, and probably a lot to unpack there. But one of them is what you're talking about, Kathy. Did they ever stop and say, wow, I'm very grateful for the meal that I had today. I'm very grateful for, you know, that loved one that I, you know, talked to today. And because we get what we focus on, right? And if we're focusing on everything that we don't have, that we're just pursuing, and never take the time to focus on what we actually have. And that's a form of gratefulness, right? You know, what is it that we have? Our life can be consumed by what we don't have and what we're miserable about. And it doesn't, it's weird. We could, I mean, all of us on this call live in America. I mean, we can be grateful for that. You know, all of us, I think, have had 3 meals a day. If we want that, we can be grateful for that. We've got clean air to breathe. We can be grateful for that. We've got this Zoom that we're doing right now. I mean, the list could go on, but that list doesn't pop into our mind unless we decide to focus on that list. So that's some of my thoughts on that. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
You know, I agree with you, Eric. And Hank and I were talking just last night when we were on the beach watching the sunset, how grateful we were that we could do that. But also I said, do you ever go down the rabbit trail of just when you sit and you start to think? And many times this happens, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the evening. And or sometimes Hank and I will be sitting on the couch and we'll be talking, and then all of a sudden we'll start going back through different memories and different things we've achieved, and we have to kind of pinch ourselves and think, good grief, we're not multimillionaires, but the things we have done, most haven't. The places we've gone, most haven't. The freedom that we've experienced, most haven't. And many can, and they don't have to have a massive business to enjoy many of the things. But sometimes it's kind of fun when your mind just starts to go off, and it goes off into different trails. And in those trails, we start thinking, well, it was a Facebook page. It's not just about things either. This is a Facebook page that popped up yesterday as a result of a message, a Facebook message that someone had sent me on Messenger. And a couple's names popped up. Well, this happens to be a couple that I was fortunate enough at church to be at the right spot at the right time to introduce them. Well, that was 16 years later, and they're happily married. Now, this changed both their lives, because he was very lonely and a wonderful man, and she was coming from an abusive situation where she was divorced from an abusive marriage. Anyway, all that being said, so then we started talking about other people and other things. And Hank and I probably about a week ago, started after a prayer at dinner time when we thank for our food, thank God for our food. I'll say what I'm most thankful for that day, and Hank will say for what he is. And you have to stop and think for a minute. But it's amazing how you can be thankful for so many things. And if you have trouble thinking about it, it gets you in the habit of thinking every day of what you are grateful for. So it gets you in that habit. And somebody once said that God God loves a grateful spirit. And he's much more apt to give to a person that's grateful than one that's grumbling all the time. Now, I don't know how true that is, but it does make sense. But I think the other thing that I just really want to correlate to is our HealthPointe program. And we are accountable, and we stress so much, if you're going to be successful, you must be accountable. Well, accountability, as Bob Andrews always taught us, was writing down those 5 things every day. Now, for you, Eric, they took the form of Google, and this is wonderful. For somebody else, for me, where I'm a more write it down in a journal type person, every morning I do that. Now, sometimes it looks pretty sloppy. Other times it looks really, really full. And so I can be grateful when it's full and remind myself when it's sloppy that I need to refocus, which is the number 5 on his 5 things every day. So I think all of it is just being mindful of the goodness that we have in our lives. And if we are running a very challenging situation, which many, many people are and do, and we will come out of in and out, all of us, let's go back to, even in the tough times, be grateful for the good times and know that the tough times are going to last only so long, and then it'll be good times again. It's not always tough times for the rest of your life. It's not always good times for the rest of your life either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's so key, and it's so interesting to hear that that's what you and Hank do. I love that. I love hearing that, by the way. Emily's on the call this morning, and my wife, Emily. And so, Emily, I think we're going to start following Hank and Carol, and before we start our dinner, we'll think of that, because it's so easy, right, to be just consumed by everything that it's not even always even like negative things, but it easily morphs into like a stressful, like grumbliness. But I like what you said, Carol, where you said it's not always something that like comes tip of your tongue right then and there, but that's kind of the point. The point is that it forces your brain to go in this direction of searching through your recent memories and say, what do I want to speak out? What do I want to verbalize that was positive? And that's the whole point, I imagine, is to train ourselves to be searching for that. Because I guess the other end of the spectrum is, we know those people, they're wonderful people, that you look at their conditions in life in terms of like the normal things of like maybe creature comforts, and maybe they've got virtually none of that, and yet they are like truly a buoyant spirit. They are like grateful, happy. And I think, maybe an easy category where you can really identify that is in children, right? Children are the embodiment of that spirit. So many children they don't know that they're supposed to have the latest Nike shoes or a Ferrari or a big home. They don't know, they don't care, but they have this beautiful spirit about them of just happy, grateful. But then there's adults too, that you go, wow, that person is really kind of down and out, but yet they're not, in their spirit. They're happy, they're grateful. And so I guess that's just another example of that. That's a great topic. Yeah.
There's a great book I just want to recommend real quick. It's called The Happiness Advantage. It's one of Nancy Dornan's favorite, The Happiness Advantage. And unfortunately, I don't have the book in front of me, so I don't have the author, but you can get it on Amazon. And it's one that I've been wanting to pull out again and reread, because it does put you in those perspectives of, and the studies that they've done. I mean, this is not just a happy book. This is clinical studies they've done on people that are happy and why they're happy, and the whole happiness thing. It just makes you aware that you can control a lot of that. No matter what's going on around you, you can still control, you control your world anyway.
It's by Sean, Shawn, Achor, Achor. I just looked it up.
Sean Achor, the happiness. I remember at least the highlights of that. And you mentioned like the studies, Carol. And if I remember correctly, this is like somebody that studied, maybe I seem to remember like some Harvard students that were just miserable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And here you go. Wow. You're going, first of all, you're going to Harvard. Let's start there. You or your family, or somehow you can afford to do that. There's another thing. You have a intellect that you're even into Harvard. So you could easily, the rest of us could go, wow, lots of things to be happy about. And yet in this study of these students, so many of them were very, very depressed. Dave, you are unmuted and probably, hello, good morning.
Good morning. As we're going on this topic, just quickly, two books that from the early days, back in World War II, that I think of is Corrie ten Boom and her Gratefulness for the Roaches, because it kept the SS and the people out of the prison area that she was in, and those people lived and didn't die when they were in a concentration camp. And the other book I think of is Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Similar situation about how do you find the positive and find the joy in life when things are so heartbreaking. And so when you look into read those books, it really helps us become even more grateful for living in America, the 3 meals a day, and all the things that we have for most people access to.
I think great. The book was The Hidden Place, I think is the name of Corrie ten Boom's book. And
yes, I think
good books.
Wow.
Those books just really gave me perspective.
Yeah.
Being, I used to think of myself as a poor city kid, and after I read those books, I realized what a rich childhood I had.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. The root of so much ungratefulness is comparison, right? Unhealthy comparison. I have to throw in that little unhealthy comparison because we are in the week of the Olympics, right? And let's hope that some of those athletes are comparing themselves to their other athletes and trying to win, right? So there are, but hopefully win or lose, hopefully they're grateful. They're at the Olympics. That's what they should be grateful for. But but an unhealthy comparison, I think that certainly is root cause of so much miserable mindset, miserable grumpiness in life, despite abundance around you. Kathy, you just said that you kind of just thought of this topic at the last moment here. What a wonderful topic, and so always timely. So good. So I know that Eileen has a topic, but is Eileen? There is Eileen. And Eileen, you are muted right there. You're unmuted. Good morning, Eileen.
Hey, so I was asked to talk about preparing for our trip. And so I thought I'd share what we're doing. I'm in a real rush now, so I'm going to try to be really quick. But Bruce, we're going to be gone 4 weeks and we're driving and then we're flying home. So it makes it a little tricky because we have to fly home and I can't pack up the car with everything I want on, that whatever. And we're going to families' houses and friends, and we do 2 weeks with our grandkids, like at a timeshare. So we have access to, a kitchen. The first few days we're at a hotel when we drive up north and we stop over. So it actually falls on our 3 protein days. And I was like kind of bummed about it because we're going to Myrtle Beach. And I'm like, that stinks. And Bruce is like, no, it makes it easy. So we're just going to do our protein day and stay on schedule, our 3 protein days. And we're not going to focus on going out to eat or any of that. We're just going to have fun and go for bike rides and all that. But Bruce counted up all the bars we need for a month and did these little packages, and some of them are cut up because we like them cut up. So he did a Bruce package and an Eileen package of in little baggies instead of containers, so we don't have to bring them home, of course. I bought these, which are really cool for my supplements. This holds, I take 3 times a day because I take more stuff than Bruce. So I got these, which is pretty cool. I think, I don't know if I showed you that or not, because I didn't flip it around.
I think we saw it. Yep.
Yeah. And then I did all these bags of our protein powder, because we like our protein powder. And we have that, so we don't have to bring anything home. We can just have that. And we're going to be with our grandkids. So if we're drinking it, they're going to want it. So we have to make sure we have enough for what they, for them to share. And then I'm bringing this because I like it and it's easy and it will fit in my carry-on. So we can add ice, not just have it in a shaker bottle. So it makes me a little happier. And if it's for a meal, I could throw in some strawberries. And anyway, so that'll make it easy to do that. I got this for Bruce for his, because we're going to be gone. So he does his vitamins, his supplements. And I mean, he could take the package, I realized afterward. So he probably didn't need that, but it's going to be all set for 4 weeks. He can just take 4 of those. I bought this really cool little scale. So it's really thin, $10 on Amazon, and that'll fit in my carry-on or wherever. And then, as you know, I bring my scale with. So I just thought I'd show you that it fits in. Let's see, how do I flip this?
Stop on the picture.
So it fits in this carry-on with my computer, my laptop, and my scale just fits right in there.
Wow.
So that with my laptop in my carry-on, and maybe the scale too. I don't know. The other thing I thought was pretty cool, I got these on Amazon. They're little packets of olive oil. So if we want olive oil on our salad, and then I bought this at Starbucks, this little guy, for having with salad or for whatever we need it for when we're gone. Because
what is that from Starbucks? What's that in that red thing? It's from Starbucks. What is that?
Olive oil, extra virgin olive oil.
Oh, gotcha.
Little container that I think I'll bring home because I like to refill it. So we have that. Of course, I bring those, the twist tubes. I like them. And then, of course, we have this. So I'm bringing a bunch of tuna and some Costco chicken. So we have handy food if we need it. So the other thing we're doing this year is we usually when we go with the grandkids, this is going to sound terrible, but we let them each pick out a half a gallon of ice cream, and that's theirs for the week. And I don't think I want to do that this year. So we bought a Yo Nanas machine, and we're going to let them pick out their fruit. And we're going to try it with little yogurt cubes too. And we're going to let them make their own Yo Nanas, whatever flavor they want, with yogurt and frozen fruit instead of buying ice cream containers.
Your young moms panel would love that input on that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we need to do an addendum to, so there's an audio in Network 21. Probably most people that are on this call have either direct access to that or have had that shared to them. It's called the Young Moms Panel, and it's just full of these practical, pragmatic steps. And I totally agree with you, Carol. This could be an addendum to that Young Moms Panel audio. That is.
Yeah, we're just going to leave that up there with them. And then we'll have it for next year when we go back up, and, it'll be our fun thing. That'll be our fun thing.
I actually think that is so key. Children are into fun. And if you think it's fun, you can make it fun for them, and it'll be fun for the rest of their life. That is so amazing. So
Yeah.
amazing.
And I think that's
Yeah.
about it. We are bringing a cooler, which we're going to just leave up there. We were going to do the little styrofoam ones, but we have an older cooler. Bruce has said, we'll just leave it up. And we go to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Vermont, and our last stop is with friends. He's like, just leave it up there. If someone wants to bring it down when they drive down, they can, or us just leave it. And that way we can have all the food we want, and we can empty out our fridge and have our food with us. And I'm kind of particular. I like what I like, and I like good food. When I go out to eat, I find I don't always get it that great. So, it bugs me to spend money, like $25 for a meal per person, and my own is better. And I never felt that way before because I ate junky when I went out to eat. Now I try to eat healthy, and it's harder. So I'd rather, if I can, the first day we're traveling, which is tomorrow, we're going to bring our own food for the day.
Yeah.
And that's all. That's what we do. And yeah, I don't know. That's it.
Love that. Love that.
Beautiful.
And so beautiful. And pretty much everybody can relate to this at some point. I mean, we highlight you guys as being such travel bugs, and always, it seems, scooting from one place to another and on a cruise ship or something like that. But the reality is that all of us have these times when we're doing our travel. And so having these practical, pragmatic steps. I mean, I love the Ziploc bags with the, protein powder. I mean, that packs, 21 grams of protein. Very, very healthy, certified organic. This is super clean. There's a lot of nasty protein powder and other products out there. This is super clean, super healthy. Yeah, I can relate to this. I'm sure everybody could share stories, but Emily and I, we like to, for our anniversary, do experiences. And I vividly remember one of our experiences. We went up to the Pictured Rocks up in the Upper Peninsula. And when we drove, of course, and when we drove, we had packed along a cooler, full of just good, healthy food. And then we had an Airbnb up there. We were up there for 2 or 3 days. We had an Airbnb, which had a refrigerator and stuff. So again, we were able to purchase our food, and then on our day trips to be able to pack up this cooler and stuff. And I got to tell you, it was just so fun. I know it sounds very, simple, and it is, but it was fun to stop at a roadside park, beautiful roadside park, have our own food, to be able to break that out. I can so relate to you, Eileen, when you say it just irritates, when you spend $25 for food somewhere and it's not really what you would want, A, and B, it's, they're trying to reduce their costs, their food costs. So they're going to be using probably seed oils and all kinds of junk in there to reduce costs. And to be able to just pull into a roadside park and open up your cooler and break out this delicious food and just have just a healthy lunch, it was just really fun. I can remember one of the parks that we stopped at was right as you cross the Mackinac Bridge and you come into the Upper Peninsula, and you're getting just started on Route 2, and you come off to the south, and there's this beautiful state park that has picnic benches and little pavilions, and you're looking out over the Mackinac, beautiful Big Mac, the Mackinac Bridge, and you're looking off into Lake Huron and Lake Michigan jointly, and it's just a beautiful scene. You just open up your cooler and you pack, lay out your food on the table. It's really wonderful. And then I remember later when we were up at the Pictured Rocks, and one of the days we decided to hit the road after a very long hike of the Pictured Rocks. I think it was an 11-mile walk that we did. And then we got in our vehicle and we drove to the east. There were some towns to the east that we wanted to visit, and we had our cooler with us, and we stopped again at this beautiful roadside park. It wasn't looking out over any of the Great Lakes, although I think it was on the banks of Lake Superior, but it wasn't like super visible. But it was just really peaceful, really beautiful, and we just had a beautiful meal there. It was just very, very fun. So I will give one caveat real quick on traveling, air travel. It's kind of a joke now with me. Me and the TSA are like on a first name basis because I think when they get my carry-on coming through and it's got cans of sardines in there, I do the sardines. It's got lots of wires, right? Because of laptops and stuff like that I'm packing. So I've got, when they scan it, and I sometimes look and I go, oh, good God, look at that. That looks like dangerous. You know, you see all these wires going all over. You see these protein bars, which I'm sure are like, you know, look like, you know, little blocks of C4 explosives or something. You know, I've got chia seeds, which I'm sure looks like something dangerous. And I don't even like give them a chance to pull me aside. I know my place. I go over to the stand by the side because I know they're going to pull my bag, you know, pat me down, run all my stuff through all kinds of security checks. So I will say that little caveat for us healthy travelers, you will become first name basis with the TSA. So bear that in mind.
Well, there's something that you can kind of cut out the pass if you're in a situation where you can drop ship, because we're going to see our son and daughter-in-law and their family for a week, the first week of August. And so what we did was we drop shipped, and we decided that we love East Spring water. We love it. But there's something about the perfect water oxygen that I think is really important. I think more maybe at our age for stability or what have you. And we notice a big difference when we don't drink a couple of bottles of perfect water a day. Hank in particular noticed a difference because he's been just a tremendous perfect water advocate for many years. And so we drop shipped the perfect water. We drop shipped the excess protein shakes because we particularly like the liquid shakes. So we'll pay the extra money to drop ship those. We get a case of those. We got a case of the all-in-one shakes because they're a new product. We want to introduce them to our family. I had an extra bag of the protein powder, so I'm just going to throw that in the suitcase because our son loves the vanilla protein powder, the organic protein powder. We had excess drop shipped. We had twist tubes, and there was one other thing, and I can't remember. Oh, then we bring gifts. And so my daughter-in-law is getting a day cream, the skin nutrition. Our son is getting the bag of protein powder. The girls are all getting their excess and their protein shakes that they love. And the new baby is getting the little baby G&H. And so we got everything in our business and there's lip gloss in there and a lot of little small things so that if I need an extra something, I'll throw it in there. But you can drop ship too. And we do that. And a lot of times you can't drop ship. So we use the pods and we'll use the protein powder in bags. We just prefer a liquid shake. It's just probably habit more than anything. But when we go away, in the plastic bag. Now, when we drop ship to our son and daughter-in-laws, we'll have bags of frozen fruits, the triple berries. They already know the brand, the whole deal. Hank has got to have his blueberries and his triple berries. And I'll tell you something, as sweet and wonderful and steady and positive as that man is, two things you don't want. You don't want him to be hungry, and you don't want him to be without his berries and his shakes, because he turns into some kind of another person. So you gotta, it's kind of the 5 love languages. Well, Hank's love language is protein shakes with the triple berries and blueberries. And then yes, the chia seeds and the muscle multiplier. You gotta put the chia seeds and the muscle multiplier in there too. Well, there's a will, there's a way.
That is great. If we're going to have our quirks or our vices, let it be our delicious, healthy starts to the day. So good on you, Hank, for being grumpy if you don't get your triple berries and protein. I love that. I want to ask about the drop ship. For those of us that will be going to, we've got it. Well, anytime we travel, by flight, but some of us will be attending a conference in the early part of September. That's certainly has a HealthPointe focus, but overall business building, and it'll be in Atlanta, Georgia. Super looking forward to that. When you're talking drop ship, are you saying that when you order it on the website, you elect to have stuff drop shipped, or are you saying that like you'll pack up a bit of a box and tape it shut and have it sent to the hotel? And what do you do?
We do. No, right from the company, right from.
And where do you just put in the address of the hotel and then they know when they receive it? I've never done that, and I've heard of it, and I know like if you go on a long trip like to Hawaii or something like that, it's really, really good to do so that you're not lugging all this stuff through the airport. But what happens when it gets to the hotel, or how do you handle that?
Well, we have done it in Hawaii, and it's worked very well. You do need to do your homework beforehand because every hotel is a little different, and some of them are much more congenial and willing to work with you, and others are they'll charge you massive upcharges and things like that. So I would definitely check on that. When we're going to a home, like when we're going to our son's house, we just change the address and send it over to him.
Gotcha.
And, yeah, so that's a pretty easy thing to do. But your hotels, you need to do your homework in advance, or any public place, like if you're on Airbnb or something. Airbnb shouldn't be a problem,
right?
But yeah, you just want to make sure. But even if you can't, you might have to do without your excess, but then take extra rhodiola.
Right.
You might do instead of a liquid protein powder, you might do a powdered protein, and like you said, take it through, and if they think you're a cocaine dealer, well, that's vanilla protein powder. I know we've done the same thing. They'll look at that stuff and
yeah, they look at that scan as it goes through TSA, and they're like, what in the world are you thinking that you're bringing through? And,
I've never tried sardines yet.
yeah, that'll stop them in their tracks. But no, and I think when we do these conferences, I mean, like this is the Lowe's Hotel, which is, I mean, those guys, we have used the Lowe's Hotel before through Network 21, and man, they just love us. I mean, those people. Yeah. I mean, so I imagine that they would be really good. I'll look into that, because I tell you, the other thing is the cost savings. We haven't really hit on that too much, but anytime you're traveling someplace, whether it's eating out like Eileen's talking about, or certainly, the breakfast at a hotel, I would say on average, your breakfast at a hotel, like a buffet type breakfast, is going to be on the order of $30 a head minimum. And, it's one thing if we were the types of people that, as they say, strap on the feed bag and go mow down this, this breakfast bar. We don't do that, so you're going through and selecting these fruits and proteins and maybe some yogurt or something. And you go, good grief, this is not, I'm not getting $30 worth. And so, boy, just having your protein powder and some stuff like that, it's a real satiating, get some fruit locally, and you just have a good, healthy breakfast, and you just saved, 50, 60, $70 between the two of you. And, 3-4 days.
Is something else too, like for us, we take very large amounts of supplements, and that's an investment in our bodies, and we would never think of not traveling with all of our supplements. Well, when you have a protein shake, you can drink them all down, and you have a tremendous start to your day. So even if you do fall off the wagon and do something, that's not 100% or whatever, you've got a strong start into your day. And I was just listening to I think it was some kind of an ad, a super ad, and the doctor was saying, no matter what time you get up, that's the start of your day. That's your break fast. Make sure that what you put in your body is really, really healthy, because that's going to set the pace for your whole day. And I thought, boy, that is so true. And when I think of people eating just like toast or a muffin or something junky, a donut, and people do that all the time. Bagels, they do that all the time. And what kind of a start does that get versus a protein shake? And I think if people have trouble with their breakfast, I think one of the easiest things to do is just get in the habit of having a protein shake and throw a fruit in there. It's not a big
Mhm.
deal. And like Eileen, I'm going to get one of those little shaker things, because I think that's a great idea to travel with.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing that Emily has too. She showed me it's battery powered and you just push the button. It's really, really great. Well, speaking of like um, donuts and muffins for breakfast, going to segue into a bit of a science corner here. You know, this is the HealthPointe program, and along with these HealthPointe tips for travel, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about blood sugar. So I'm going to dive into a bit of a segment on insulin resistance and mitochondria, and it's a bit of it can get into a bit of a vicious cycle where if you have insulin resistance, then that can create a less than optimal mitochondria. Mitochondria are a part of your cell, a very, very important part of your cell. And if you have compromised mitochondria, that can lead to more insulin resistance. So it can be this vicious circle. So I mentioned as we started the program that I had good news and bad news on this. The bad news is you're not going to like this list of impacts that bad mitochondria is going to have, but tongue in cheek, the good news is the list is only nine bad things. It's not 10. You know, if it was 10, that would be bad news, but there's only 9. So we'll take that. Hey, we'll practice our Kathy Munoz gratefulness and say there's only 9 bad things about unhealthy mitochondria. So let me just read a few things here. It says mitochondrial dysfunction can lead to insulin resistance, which then results in hyperinsulinemia. This state of elevated insulin levels can further lead to chronic metabolic diseases. Therefore, a direct connection exists between the health of your mitochondria and overall health, with insulin resistance being the initial indicator of underlying issues. The reverse can also be true. Insulin resistance can contribute to mitochondrial dysfunction. When cells are resistant to insulin, it disrupts normal metabolic processes, leading to an energy imbalance and increased stress on the mitochondria. This in turn can impair mitochondrial function, creating a vicious cycle where both conditions exacerbate each other. Okay, let's get into this fun list. Mitochondrial dysfunction can have widespread ramifications due to its central role mitochondria play in cellular energy production. And let me just emphasize that for anybody that hasn't been on earlier episodes and maybe never heard of mitochondria. I actually secured a domain name around mitochondria. It was about a year or so ago that I just became very fascinated with the topic of mitochondria. And I think, you know, if you can imagine, you know, you can picture like Superman with a big S on his chest, you know, Superman. I think we need to get shirts that say like mitochondria man, you know, with a big M on there, because it is that key to our overall health. You know, in basic science and basic biology class, you might hear of mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell, and that's true. So literally, just broad strokes to help you understand mitochondria, when you take in fuel, you know, that needs ultimately to be converted into energy and to fuel your cells. And in broad strokes, mitochondria are what do that. They convert that fuel, that glucose or other sources of fuel, into energy. There's the form of it is what's called ATP. So if you hear somebody talk about ATP, that is the currency. Think of it, you know, that is the currency that our cells use for fuel. So the mitochondria, you might remember that some time ago when I talked about mitochondria before, and I gave the example that most of us have seen in movies where like maybe it's like a 007 spy type movie, and you see the scene, it's kind of very dramatic, kind of gross, but where somebody gets caught, they're a spy, and they they snap this cyanide pill, right? And they eat that, and then within seconds they're dead, right? And it's a very graphic, maybe a bad illustration, but what that is doing is basically shutting down mitochondria. That's what the cyanide is doing. So it give you an idea of how important your mitochondria is. If you shut it down completely, lights out, you're dead. So very, very important. So let's get into this. Mitochondria dysfunction can have widespread ramifications due to the central role mitochondria play in cellular energy production. Some key consequences include, number one, decreased energy. Cells rely on mitochondria for ATP, the primary energy currency. Dysfunction can lead to reduced ATP production, causing fatigue and decreased cellular function. Number two, increased oxidative stress. Dysfunctional mitochondria can produce excess reactive oxygen species. You often see this as ROS or ROS, leading to oxidative stress, which damages cells and tissues. I've sometimes heard of reactive oxygen species as thinking about kind of like the rusting of a cell. And I'm sure that's not scientifically perfectly accurate, but think about that. So you don't want to increase oxidative stress is the point there. Number three, metabolic disorders. Mitochondrial dysfunction is linked to metabolic conditions such as obesity, type 2 diabetes, and insulin resistance. Number four, neurodegenerative diseases. Conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Huntington's diseases are associated with mitochondrial dysfunction, as neurons are highly dependent on mitochondrial energy production. Okay, so that was number four, neurodegenerative diseases. Number five, cardiovascular diseases. Mitochondrial dysfunction can contribute to heart disease, as the heart requires substantial energy to function properly. Number six, aging and age-related diseases. Mitochondrial dysfunction is implicated in the aging process and associated diseases such as sarcopenia, which is muscle loss. If you hear about sarcopenia, talking about muscle loss, and frailty. So that was number six, aging and age-related diseases. Number seven, cancer. Altered mitochondrial function can contribute to the development and progression of cancer by affecting cellular metabolism and promoting uncontrolled cell growth. And that, as you may know, is the hallmark of cancer, is a uncontrolled cell growth. So that was number seven, cancer. Number eight, immune system dysfunction. Mitochondria are involved in immune responses, and their dysfunction can impair the body's ability to fight infections and may contribute to chronic inflammation. So that was a immune system dysfunction. Number nine, muscle weakness and degeneration. Mitochondrial myopathies can lead to muscle weakness and degeneration, affecting physical capabilities. Okay, we get to stop at 9. There's no 10. Okay, that's the good news here, and all that bad news. And this is good news across the board, because we're in a program, HealthPointe, that some people emphasize this more than others. And it's not like you need to understand the science of this to receive the benefits, but at its core, we are in many cases helping people reverse insulin resistance, reverse type 2 diabetes, maybe a high A1C number, get that reversed and under control. And what this list is going through is, in doing that, you are helping the health of this very important element, this organelle inside the cell that is responsible for all of these very important biological processes. So by getting healthier and doing things like we do with HealthPointe, you can help and have the same list of 9 things be a very positive thing instead of a negative thing. So that's my segment on mitochondria. Maybe next week I'll have my mitochondria man shirt on, and and have a big M on the chest. I don't know, have to get those made up. Moving along, well, first of all, if there's any questions on that, but otherwise just moving along to anyone else that has any other topics. We started a bit late, as we often do. We kind of have a preamble before we kind of get started and get our tech working and so forth, but we're coming up on roughly the hour mark. Anybody else want to comment or have a segment at all?
Eric, hi.
Yes.
This is Hank.
Good morning, Hank.
Good morning. Listening to you about mitochondria and the degradation of your muscles brings to mind essential amino acids, which is a muscle multiplier. Okay, so vitally important. As you get older, yes, your muscles start to degrade, but essential amino acids, a muscle multiplier takes good care of that. Just want to share that with you. And
very, very good point. Yep, the muscle multiplier, branch chain amino acids. And I know we've had a couple of small comments or segments on that. I know, Carol, one time you mentioned about why it is that when you take the muscle multiplier, it's recommended. I mean, it's not going to hurt you if you do this, but to get the optimal benefit, you don't do it within 20 minutes of ingesting any other kind of protein. And you explained that is because those proteins are going through the digestive tract, whereas the muscle multiplier, I think the term you use is like mainlining or straight lining, pretty much right directly into the bloodstream. So you want to give that clear access to that. So yeah, great point. It helps with the synthesizing of the proteins.
I can add one other thing, and forgive me for my clunky start. I don't know why, but I could not get any kind of juice outside, so I had come back home. So I missed the first part of this, but I did want to just remind folks about the purity of our products. We talk a lot about the need for these products, and I was listening to Hank on the muscle multiplier and also Eric on the mitochondria. And, he said the mitochondria is in the core of your cell. One of the beautiful things about our Nutrilite, in particular our double X, is that our double X and our omegas, is it makes your cell permeable. And if you think about around cell, if your cell is not permeable, that means that the nutrients can't get in and the toxins can't get out. And the nutrients can't get in there to do the work with the mitochondria. And so that's one of the blessings of the double X and the omegas that we recommend in the HealthPointe program, is that it makes those cells very permeable so that you can flush out all the toxins that are in our foods and in our water and what have you. No matter how careful we are, you have to get those things out and you have to get the nutrients in. And there was an article real quick, and it was actually Hank sent it to me this morning, so I'll give Hank total credit for it. It's from crystalclearnews.com, and it's a sub thing from a news break that he gets. And it talked all about the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. It says it's expanded a recall of all lots of, I won't use the big term, hyaluronic acid supplements. That's the HA supplements found to be tainted with drug ingredients. Now, hyaluronic acid is not a drug. There should be no drugs in there. The recall now includes additional supplements sold by a company called Main Products, incorporated on Amazon. After FDA laboratory analysis confirmed the presence of two drugs that won't make any names sense to you, but they're two major drugs. These are not authorized in dietary supplements, and yet they found them in these supplements. And it says consumers, this was interesting, consumers have to be advised to stop using these products and to consult their health care providers if they're experiencing any related health issues. Well, you sure don't want to have to do that. You want to not cut it off at the pass and don't consume it in the first place. If you knew your food was tainted, you wouldn't eat it and then wait to see if you had any byproducts or any problems and then go to your doctor. You just wouldn't eat it in the first place. And it's the same thing with your supplements. And then the last thing that I thought was really interesting is it said, when considering adding a supplement to your daily routine, it's crucial to thoroughly investigate the brands. Hallelujah. These supplements are not regulated by the same standards as other food and drug products, which can present some quality concerns. And I started thinking about Nutrilite and of course our double X and our omegas, which all of you are on, plus many other things too. But I think of Nutrilite, one of the things that is their branding is that they have never had a recall in well over 80 years. I think they're hitting 87 years, if I'm not mistaken. They Nutrilite, most of them, and double X, their farms, let's put it that way, their farms have the CCOF. That's California Certification of Farming. That's very, very expensive. And it has to be done on every one of their farms every single year. And I know Dr. Vicki Nelson talks about that on our, and Hank does too, when they do the Nutrilite part of the HealthPointe program. But we fail, and sometimes you'll show a picture, but they fail to say that this has to be done like yesterday for this year. It has to be done every single year. It doesn't just one size fits all for the next 20 years. And so they have to, and so all the stuff that they have to do, not only for their farms, but the communities all around their farms every year to just keep up with that will add to the cost of the product. And then the omegas, they have the friend of the sea seal. I've never seen any other omega that's got the friend of the sea seal. And that is a very similar to CCOF seal, Certified Organic Farmers Feel. It's a top of the line seal that these are pure products. And then what's in them is what we say on the label is in the label. And that comes from your NSF certifications. And all of our products have that NSF. So whether they use off of our farms or they go to, because we can't grow every solid thing, they go to a Nutri-certified farm. Nutri-cert is what it's called. That would be a farm that has to go through the same quality control as our Nutrilite farms before they will ever get any ingredient from those farms. And so we can know that in 100% times, we can be completely confident in recommending. But we also have to put a disclaimer in there for people that want to squeeze two nickels together and try to make it a dime. They can't go on Amazon and expect to get a Nutrilite product, a pure product. It might say Nutrilite on it, and it might look like double X. It might look like Supreme LX, our top of the line skincare product, but there is no guarantees. And what Amway is fighting is the fact that these are not our products. These are man-made products that they stick in those containers, make them look real, just like so many things that we have today. And so if you have a customer or you as a new IBO or a new client that is going on the HealthPointe program, do not try to go on Amazon and buy your vitamins, number one, and don't try to buy your Nutrilite or your omegas because you do not know what you're getting. And so I would say be very, very careful, because what you're putting in your body is not something that is the same as what you're putting on your body. You can put a cheap dress on or a cheap shirt and a couple of years throw it away and it's not going to affect your health. If you ingest that same cheap vitamin instead of a top of the line vitamin, that is going to be a lifetime of paying. And so every time Hank and I look at all of our supplements and stuff, we say that was an investment we decided to make many years ago. And let me tell you, again, I had my first meet the doctor and it was a new doctor because I keep losing my doctors for some reason. They can't keep the female doctor. So I got a wonderful doctor. He's Hank's doctor. Well, I have fallen in love with him. He's just a nice young DO and just great. And he said, man, he said, I have never seen an HDL and a triglyceride like yours. And then he said, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. And he kept saying that. And he said, go for your lab work. But he said, quite honestly, I don't want to see you. Unless I see something that just screams off the page, I don't want to see you. Make an appointment for next July and I'll see you then. So
Wow.
those are things, I'm not bragging, those are things that God in all of his infinite direction back in 1972 moved us to a home next to a chiropractor that started teaching us about natural health, organics, and from there, Nutrilite came in the following year, and the rest is history. And let me tell you something, we are forever grateful for every single solitary dime, nickel, penny, dollar, $10 or whatever we have invested, because it's a money that we've invested there instead of investing it in knee replacements, hip replacements, you know, all that other stuff, medications that we don't know what they're doing and what have you. So
Yeah.
I'm off my soapbox, and that's my take for today, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. David, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I know we're short on time, but I just wanted
That's
to
okay.
share. Many of you, some of you know Brian, who came to a couple weekends back, and he went to on a vacation out west and ran out of omegas, so he bought them from Amazon, and then he called me up, which is unusual. He called me up and said he needed to talk to me, and I didn't know all this, and he calls me up and tells me that he's feeling. Not feeling so, he's feeling like I'm forgetting things, and I don't feel like I used to feel. He takes double X and omegas every day. And in our talk, I found out that he had bought them off of Amazon. And I told him I said, put a big C on there for China, so you don't mix up that bottle. And I said, I'll get you some brand new ones. And I said, you need to get back to, and we talked about the people who try to replicate our stuff, who put cheap stuff in them. And anyways, 2-3 weeks later, I got back to him and he was back to feeling great again. So
that's a great call it testimonial. And let me just punctuate this very clearly for those that may be getting this information for the first time, because this is, and I mentioned this also to Carol, is that, you know, we're experiencing a fair amount of growth, right? And so with lots of new clients, new business owners, all of that type of stuff, we are hearing more, right? This is very natural. A new person Google's, you know, advanced omega, Nutrilite, and they see it on Amazon. Let me be clear. There's only one guaranteed source of that product, okay? And that is Amway.com. If you're not ordering it on Amway.com, all bets are off. What is a huge industry, be it China, be it whatever brand, they take brands, they can replicate the boxes, the packaging identically. They can put who knows what product in there and sell it on. I was recently in conversation with somebody that saw it on Amazon. They asked the question, well, why do I buy it here when I can just buy it on Amazon? Another one was like eBay. They found them on like eBay and stuff like that. It's not that product, you know, but Amway's got a tough job. A lot of these major brands have tough jobs. They have whole departments that are anti-fraud, where they're coming in with heavy hammers, knocking these, but it's like whack-a-mole. They hit one down on the head, another one pops up. So be very clear. There's only one source. And like Carol said, you know, 80, 90 years of never having a recall, etc. One source for that. So definitely be aware of that. And it doesn't just affect the Nutrilite brand. Any winning brand, any notable brand is prone to these frauds that really can do a lot of serious harm. So be careful of that for sure. So guys, this is, go ahead.
One more, really fast. Yeah. When I was at Universal a year ago with my whole family, my youngest son-in-law, so I don't get this new technology stuff, but he went online and ordered groceries for the week, then had them drop. Then he met the person in the lobby. So we had additional food for our rooms for the week when we first got to Universal. just another thought on that. Out of the
On-
box thinking.
Yeah, like on travel and getting prepping for your travel. Very true. Yeah, yeah, it's really, really great for that. So great tip for sure. Well, guys, this has been great, wonderful, amazing segment. We went from gratefulness and mitochondria to all kinds of good stuff, drop shipping products, and keeping the frauds at bay on false products out there. Really, really rich product. Thank you, everyone, so much. Have a great rest of your Saturday. We'll see you next week, Saturday, same time, same place here on Zoom. I'll get this up onto to YouTube. Quick programming note, I do still have to get the last week's episode up onto YouTube. A little bit of a delay on that, but I anticipate being able to make that happen. So stay tuned on that. But till next time, bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye,
Eric.
everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a
Bye,
great week.
everybody. Thank you.